So it looks like Microsoft will not be delivering an Xbox Series X mid-gen upgrade, and you know what, that may be a smart move on their side, especially if you look at the PlayStation 5 Pro specs. Let's look into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I know that everyone is super excited about PlayStation 5 Pro. Everyone talks about this console's specs, GPU, CPU, memory upgrade and stuff, right? And even though back in the days I was like, yeah, I would like to see an Xbox Series X mid-gen upgrade, and I still think that mid-gen upgrades actually make sense, especially if you don't really want to jump into the next generation just yet. But unfortunately, PlayStation might have decided to go with PlayStation 5 Pro a little bit too early, right? And because looking at the PlayStation 5 Pro specs, I mean, I'm not really that impressed. I mean, yes, you know, there's a lot of teraflops in that console, but that's pretty much it, really, right? And I'll talk about it in more details in a minute. And by the way, I do have some other videos planned. I want to compare PlayStation 5 with PlayStation 5 Pro specs and Xbox Series X and Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 Pro specs too. But today I want to talk about the potential power difference and performance difference in general, right? Now, let's talk about these teraflops, because people get excited about teraflops, and really there's 33 teraflops, but it's a dual issue commands or shaders as they call it, and they didn't really improve the rest of the GPU, right? So you can have all these teraflops, but still rest of the GPU pipeline didn't really improve that much, right? I mean, they did add a number of compute units, right? There will be like 50% more compute units, I think. And that's why they actually talk about, 50% increase in rendering, rasterized rendering, because these actually extra CPUs, will translate to a real performance increase, right? So around 50%. I mean, these documents say that, right? It's not me, MaDz, the PlayStation hater, as some people say it, right? It's the official PlayStation documents that say that there will be around 45, probably up to 50%, real life kind of rendering performance improvement. GPU rendering, so don't expect like a 50% increase in performance in every single game, because if a game will be CPU limited, you're not really going to see any much of a difference except high resolution, right? So that's one thing. So really, if you look at PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro kind of power difference, really on the GPU side of things, we are looking at around 50% more power. Let's just simplify things, right? So that's that. So if you consider that Xbox Series X is around 20% more powerful than PlayStation 5, and actually in the most recent games, that kind of power shows more and more. It's not really much of a difference, like it's not massive, but like more and more, proper next-gen games are coming out right now, and we actually see that extra power, horsepower being used on Xbox Series X. And obviously PlayStation 5 Pro will run these games better, because there's no doubt PlayStation 5 Pro will be more powerful than Xbox Series X, right? But the difference is going to be around 30%, I think, right? Because, maybe 40 max, that's it. So, like, if you really think about, like, the difference between Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 Pro, we are looking at around 30 to 40%, like, power difference, right? Because, like, there will be different clock speeds and a different number of compute units, sure, but I actually wonder what's the clock speeds on the GPU on the PlayStation 5 Pro GPU will be like. But anyway, we'll see. So in reality, we are looking at a difference, GPU difference, like between Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 Pro, remember? And actually back then, Xbox Series X actually had a little bit more advantage back then, because Xbox One X actually had faster CPU and more memory bandwidth, while this time around it's only the GPU part really. And like I said, I'll talk about the proper specs probably in the different video, because CPU wise, memory wise, when it comes to memory bandwidth, there's actually no difference. Yes, there will be a little bit more memory available for developers. Digital Foundry actually said that on PlayStation 5 Pro, but that extra memory will probably be used for ray tracing or that new upscaling technique that apparently they want to use, right? So you're probably not going to see much of a difference when it comes to like graphics per se, except ray tracing effects, really, right? So I don't think you're going to see much of a difference. So really, if you think about is it worth an upgrade? I mean, I guess I guess it all depends on the price, because if the price will be alright and you don't have a PlayStation 5 just yet, you are on a lookout for a new console, yeah, you may as well just grab a PlayStation 5 Pro and play games there. There will be games looking sharper, and there will be more ray tracing effects in certain games, because it's not like in all games, and really there's certain games that don't use ray tracing at all. So like in general, I think that in general, when it comes to like a real life performance difference, you're not really going to see any performance difference between Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 Pro in these 30 frames per second locked games, or like even games with unlocked frame rate in CPU bottlenecked scenarios, because there's no difference in the PlayStation 5 Pros and Xbox Series X CPU really. And it's just marginal, and the memory bandwidth is pretty much the same, like slight difference, and the only thing that stands out is the GPU, which is, like I said, around 30% more, 40% more powerful. So in games it may translate to a performance or resolution difference of anything between like 20 to 30% in my opinion, right? So is it worth buying a new console for a 20% more higher resolution? Well, I'm not here to tell you what you should like or what you should not like, but I think the decision that Microsoft made, that maybe we should wait and do something a little bit later because there will be better technology available. Well, I think it was a smart move on Xbox side of things, because I don't think you're going to see much of a difference when it comes to games, performance, and like even graphics for the most part on PlayStation 5 Pro. Yes, resolution will be higher, so any games that are like 900p right now in performance modes, you will see much higher resolution, so these games will look better because sharper. They will be sharper, so I guess that's a big plus. But other than that, that's it, guys. PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 Pro was actually much more of an upgrade over a regular PlayStation 4 than PlayStation 5 Pro is over PlayStation 5. So not to even mention Xbox One X, because Xbox One X was there was like a 4 times the GPU power difference, like 50% more memory, like 3 times memory bandwidth, and I think they improved the CPU by 30%. So Xbox One X actually felt like a proper upgrade back then. But PlayStation 5 Pro with that you know, 30 to 50% more power on the GPU side of things, depending whether you compare it to Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5. Well, like I said, I guess it will all depend on the price, because for the most part, yeah, games will kind of run similarly, and yeah, just at high resolutions, really. So anyway, guys, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. But realistically speaking, I would rather wait a little bit longer for these consoles and to get a proper upgrade rather than get like a 30% you know, GPU uplift and that's it. Even on PC, where PC guys usually upgrade much, you know, way more often. Like, I usually upgrade my GPUs and CPU, especially GPUs, because CPUs, that's a bit different. But with GPUs, I usually upgrade every other generation. So right now I've got RTX 3070. So if I were to upgrade to RTX 4070, so one generation up, I would get around 30% better performance in games in general, obviously on average, because some games would run better, some games would get less of a boost, right? But what I usually do, I upgrade every other generation, or I go for like way more, just more power, right? Because like for me, like at least I want to see that 60% much, you know, boost. But on top of that, I usually go with, you know, faster CPU or more cores on the CPU to actually not only have a higher resolution but also better frame rate. And unfortunately, and that's PC, where we upgrade way more often. And, you know, so to get a 50% boost in terms of just GPU performance after 4 years, it does sound like a little bit of a disappointment. So I'm very curious what Xbox Series X, Xbox will do with their next console. I mean, it looks like we are getting an Xbox Series X refresh this year. But that's still going to be the same console, just that will come in a different package, if you know what I mean. But when it comes to upgrades, you know, none of that will happen. And I also have some other thoughts on the technology that Xbox Series X actually comes with. But that's going to be for another video, because this video is like 12 minutes long already. So I'll leave you with that, guys. So listen, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about it. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.